Here's your bees. We have the wild, basically honeybees. They do a pretty good job of pollinating. Okay, without the honeybee, we probably wouldn't have a lot of vegetables that we need, okay, that we eat. But the bumblebee actually pollinates a lot better. It's a more efficient pollinator. According to the literature I read, it'll visit a flower 8 times more than a honeybee will. So that's why I tend to buy the bumblebees. Okay. Now the bumblebee hive that I purchased comes with a queen and some, I forgot the name of the brood. Comes with the brood as well, and it lasts about 6 to 8 weeks. Okay. And it also has these doors that you can open and close. So if I want to spray a chemical but I don't want to hurt the bees, I can open it up just so far and the bees can go in but they can't get out. So, and then after I've done spraying, if I want to wait a little bit, then I just open up and let them both go in and out. So it's kind of cool.
Do you have any problem with stings from them?
Nope. I haven't been stung by a bumblebee ever.
You don't mess with it?
Well, when I was a kid, I stepped on one. I got stung, but no. But yeah, I don't. I mean, they're pretty tame, and I've been busy harvesting, and there'll be a bumblebee come up and a flower right there, and I just kind of went like that one time, and it just flew off. And you know the bees that fly around. You guys know they're all female. Yes. Okay. The males are useless in that society, other than I was going to say other than pollinating the queen, but it's fertilizing the queen. All right. Okay, so sometimes you're going to get strawberries that look like this. This could be cold temperature, freezing temperatures, so the pollination just doesn't occur, all right? Or it just could be no winds, okay? Heat can also cause that. Thrips. Thrips are little tiny insects that can feed on the flowers and damage them. And then also the lack of bees, okay? But usually we'll see a lot of this kind of misshapen fruit early in the season because it's a cold temperature. So if your flowers didn't freeze, but they may have not gotten pollinated correctly, so you'll get some misshapen fruit, all right? Is that fruit still good? Yeah, just let it ripen up and, cut it in. You can eat it, but, I give all my seconds away to some growers who like to make jams and jellies out of them, okay? And some of this stuff is really nasty looking. Yeah, it should taste the same. Some people prefer the smaller berries compared to the larger berries. They say they're sweeter. But most of your berries that you initially pick, the first berries that come out, they call them the king berries. They are usually the largest, okay? You can also tell how big the berry is by how big the flowers are. Your major flowers in the beginning are going to be big, and then they progressively get smaller throughout the season, okay? So by the time you're almost done, you may be picking a lot more berries, but your weight's going to probably be less. So, but I hate wasting a single berry, so I'll pick it no matter what. All right. Things to consider on your plant types: June bearing or everbearing. I think I kind of went over that, or the day neutral. Your June bearing are going to produce generally in the spring, and it's going to be in a shorter period of time, generally 4 weeks maybe, depending on the temperatures. Your everbearing, certain varieties that do everbearing, they're going to produce a small amount, but over a longer period of time, and they may be less sensitive to the heat as well. Temperatures are important, okay, for producing the flowers as well and the crowns. So that's why they need that cold temperature, and that's why it's best not to buy your plants in the springtime and plant them in the spring. You can plant them in the spring, but you might want to keep them shaded and protected and keep them as cool as possible. You might get a little bit of fall production, but then you're going to want to wait and keep them alive until the next year. All right. We already talked about soil type, irrigation. We've kind of covered that as well. Air and soil temperatures. Really, once the temperatures reach about 55 degrees in the soil, our plants are really starting to produce. Okay. Yes, you had a question?
So with your berries, do you always plant the same kind, or are you always trying different kinds?
Yeah. The question is, am I trying different kinds of berries? Yes, I try different varieties. I've got 6 varieties. I know which ones, if I'm going to do a test, I know which ones are best for me because I like to get the higher yields. Sometimes I want a berry that gets a lot of disease because I'm testing disease control products. But I'll show you the varieties here in just a second.
I had a quick question.
Yes.
The reason you want to shade the ones you plant in the spring is because they have a shorter period that they're going to produce and it gets too hot?
Yeah, it gets too hot, so you want to keep them as cool as possible because I've had my berries generally in the first week of June, they're just going to start to dry up. So we tried clipping them one time to see if they would regrow in the fall. It didn't work out very well because the student worker that I told to clip them, he cut them way down too deep and cut off all the crowns. So that was a waste of a day of work. All right. Oh, yeah, this just shows different varieties here. I thought this was pretty cool. I'd never seen a blue strawberry before. But it's a, obviously it's a patriotic photo here, red, white, and blue strawberry. So I don't know how you tell when these two are ripe. I guess you just have to try it and see and taste them. So, all right, oops. Fertilizers and other nutrients, they need lots and lots of nitrogen. Okay, for growers that are out in the field, they can put on about anywhere from 150 to 300 pounds of nitrogen per acre. Okay, so that's a lot. It's basically about a pound of nitrogen per acre per day. So they'll put it out throughout the season. I generally like to put half my fertilizer at planting, and then I'll just kind of once a week I'll add some fertilizer. And I've used Miracle Grow. I've used anything that I can go through the drip irrigation is good. But when I used like a standard balanced fertilizer, like a 20-20-20, without micronutrients and without the acidity, my plants just didn't perform. All right, so we've already talked about the June bearing, Everbearing, and day neutrals, okay? Any question on those? Yes? The Everbearing, day neutral. It's like Everbearing, okay? But it's insensitive to day length. So a lot of the strawberry varieties are sensitive to day length, so once it reaches a certain amount of your photo period, it'll kick in the flowering. So they're insensitive to that, so they're going to produce smaller amounts of flowers over an extended period of time. For us, I don't like the Everbearing or the day neutral in our area because it just gets too hot too fast, and so my yields are always lower. That's why I go for the June bearing type, which generally it'll start in late February, early March. And then I can oftentimes pick until June, but again, those berries are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller throughout the season. So, all right. This just shows some cultivars that I've got out there right now, and I have this on white plastic, and that may be one of the reasons we get really hot, and so I thought, well, I'll try the white plastic and see if that keeps them a little bit cooler. But maybe my plant production didn't get as big this year. But you can see here different varieties. Camino Real is the variety that I like best so far. I get really large berries, high yields. And it's done the best for me. It's not quite as sweet as some other berries, but it's still a pretty good berry. Flavor Fest is a new one. These are all taken on the same day. You can see the growth just for us really isn't there, so that's probably not going to be a good variety for us. And these other varieties, Lucia, Ruby June, Rutger Scarlet, and Sensation, I have no idea. I guess maybe if you come up to my strawberry field day on the 21st, we might be able to do some taste testing, but I don't know about those varieties yet. Yes?
Have you grown the new Texas Superstar Festival?
Festival? Strawberry Festival? Yes. I've grown that one.
Yeah.
The question was, have I...
That's a new Texas Superstar this year.
Okay. But it's the Variety Strawberry Festival out of Florida?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I've grown that one, and that one's actually pretty good, but my yields were still higher with Camino Real. It comes in a little bit earlier than Camino, but it's a nice firm berry. And I think I've got a slide here in just a second to show some more varieties. Yes?
Which ones are the sweeter?
I don't know any of these yet. I think this one is supposed to be really sweet, but again, it doesn't look like it's producing much. There we go. These are some varieties I grew a couple of years ago. Chandler is really sweet, and it's a standard variety. So it's a good one to grow if you can find it. And it's easy to grow. It gets a little bit mushy for me, and maybe it's just because of our weather conditions. A lot of times when I'm done picking with it, my hands will be entirely red, okay? So it doesn't store quite as well as, say, something like Albion's an Everbearing variety. It produces a nice firm fruit. It's a good shipper if you want to store it. And that's what a lot of the growers down in Poteet grow, the Albion. But it's an Everbearing variety again. Benicia grows really big berries, but again, they're not quite as sweet. Camarosa is another good one to try. And you can buy these online. You can order, if you're looking to order 1,000 or more, if you've got a lot of space you want to grow them in. You need to actually order them in June so that the growers can produce them. Most of it you can buy, I think as few as 50, but it's going to cost you more.
Master Gardener Group might do like a fall
Yeah,
strawberry plant.
yeah. Master Gardener Group could order a bunch of them in, get it cheaper that way.
The festival,
Yes.
which again, New Texas Superstar is I think only available from a place in California, And they will have them available for shipping to Texas the 1st to the 10th of October.
1st to 10th of October,
And they
okay.
sell in lots of 100.
I know there used to be there is a grower out of Arkansas that produces plugs of Festival, Goodson Farms. I think you can buy as low as 50. But I think it would probably be best if you actually got together as a group and purchased them that way. Okay. So, but Festival's good and sweet. It comes in earlier than, say, where's the Camino Real. Radiance is a nice Florida berry. Really good shape, good flavor, but it's not very wind tolerant. Okay, I had it outside and it just turned to shreds. Okay, but inside a high tunnel, or if it's protected, it does really, really well.
Or pretty much within a day of
Yeah, Chandler's really good and sweet, but it's an older variety. It's it's probably from the 60s, but it's a good one to start with.
I notice when I buy the strawberries at this time of the year, the insides are white.
Yep, that means it's not ripe. So like these right here, we pick them when they're ripe, but we have to sell them pretty quick. But you know what? We've sold them at the farmer's market and they go within an hour. You can sell 500 pounds within an hour, because we're in a strawberry desert, all right? And again, $7 a pint. So this is a 2-pound container, and that goes for about $10.